李伯健喺度，梗係唔係李伯健喺度？
幾多我咁都睇到嘅，邊個打手啊？
直情林峰嚟嘅，你話李伯健
1000件啊，做一代。
幾多件啊？你想？
林峰啊！
犀啊！啲啊，咁都睇到打手啊！你好犀利。你呢條我哋呢度睇到嘅，睇都睇到喎。
我見到方立康我了解㗎嘛，我諗而家你咁。有冇見啊？你好，你好曬冇人睇點解？
10號300。 翻。
即刻得停，啱啱擋咗佢。係去到嗰個位，不過得停變咗嘅可以射嘅範圍咧係大啊嘛。
哎呀，我話喺出面寫分版。
寫分版。可以爭個寫分版。
喂，攞分啊！
而家我哋幾多比？
呢個位咩？我哋。
好忙咯，你一去就搞到嗰度忙，所以而家要
冇運動啊嘛！
我打到3分鐘啊，跟住頂3至5分鐘就打到啦。
到啦，快啲啦！3分鐘我出去企3分鐘。
哦，喺呢邊。
又飛台灣啊！我嗰度冇酒飲咩？
係咯。
嗰啲花酒嚟㗎嘛。
帶啲花上去啊！
哇，幾個上嚟同一齊飲。張單留翻俾你㗎，要諗就。哇！乜你咁渣要俾錢嘅咩？哇！我哋啲從來唔做呢咁嘢㗎。你哋一定要全部一齊嚟啊！我哋打翻場先啦，打翻5分鐘，我哋打翻屋企啊
5分鐘。一落場係打得好㗎啦。有幾個收你？你唔好限住5分鐘咯。你可能2分鐘走啦，係咪啊？你冇逼定5分鐘咯，真係。你咁耐嘅。
而家我哋而家諗住坐低講嘛，定係咪28？
哇，幾耐啊？5分鐘原來。你打咗幾分鐘啫？後尾已經嗌9分鐘。
2分。7號2分。15。
一個七，是打七。
點多陣啦，點多陣啦。嗰啲嘢全部貴過晒九龍嘅。
8。大概10分。
哇！真係啊！冇入啊！係，好，拍得好，唉。
竟然3分。
阿叔你打㗎？提手。
哦，落咗啦，落咗一輪㗎啦，已經落咗一輪㗎啦，而家呢場唔使話啦。
以前阿叔冇得上㗎，而家我唔上啊。以前阿叔冇得開㗎，講住咧，我開標埋係爆開入。
幾俾佢啊？
而家我唔開啦。
20比17，等陣。
仲有幾耐啊？Sir？
5分鐘到啦。
5分鐘。
15分鐘。
5分鐘。
因為邊度領先啊？我哋領先啊。
20、18、20、17。講得咁靚。
翻返轉頭啊要，好啦，
好波。
有人幫手啊！
抽得咁靚啊個波。
係啊，抽得好靚喎，但係佢前面人多咧，前面有咁多人，慢啲等人幫手好過啦。
攞慢啲，攞慢啲，停啲。
阿叔個手眼嚟，殺手鐧嚟，但係跟住又唔乖嗰度真係唔乖翻啊真係。
冇你睇得明。
係咯，呢個係佢殺手啊，爆完入去，跟住打翻個波，跟住就再射翻入去最大機會，但係跟住冇做啊。
阿澤。好波。係啊，等埋上嚟。
夾定啲。
中㗎。
差一分咋？贏1分啦，係嘛？
換人啦。
21。
仲有1分。
4分。
It's okay there?
Testing. Why?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we will start. Could you please come in the front a little? No, maybe you should run the session now, because after that I will present the PowerPoint, or you will present the PowerPoint.
No, you present the
So
PowerPoint.
it's better that you.
Yeah, but you wanted to talk about this training thing, no? Before?
Okay.
Oh, let me.
Start.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, everybody, let's start the session. We are gonna do like we did before. Some people still having some coffee. It's already the second day. Tomorrow is gonna be the third day. Things are going smoother. Before entering into, we would like to have time to to share ideas and particularly doubts, because many people were saying, oh, wow, something of this should be a little bit more discussed. So let's try to challenge ourselves a little bit. I have to be with 3 micros. This is...
Just 2, sorry.
You remember that the Gillette started with 1, then 2, then 3. With the micros, it's the same. So I could... yeah. All right. Well, before starting to comment this, we were talking with Dominic about this last point, the idea of training leaders. And I think that it would be good, Dom, if you give some additional thoughts on that.
Okay. In some associations, to improve the quality of scouting, nearly in all associations, the tendency is to make more efforts on training, adult leader training. And in some cases, it is successful, but in some cases also, it becomes sometimes too sophisticated. And the result that we can observe sometimes is that the youth empowerment is decreasing when the insistence, the effort of adult leader training is increasing. I wonder if you have observed that in your association. The question is that we have to keep in mind is that there are limits in scouting with adult training because the adult leaders are volunteers that don't have a lot of time, and sometimes their turnover is fast. So that means that National Scout Association should be aware.
No, I'm just putting inside
sorry.
the gray area.
Thank you. It's complicated, huh?
Yeah,
2 micro inside the line. Okay. So we have to take care of the limits that exist with adult training. And maybe there is a second way to increase the quality of scouting. It is by improving youth involvement, youth empowerment within scouting. After all, they say that you have to... Okay. After all, the young people are able to do a lot of things by themselves. So it's not only by adult training that we could increase the quality of scouting, but it is also by improving youth empowerment. Just a reflection that I let to you. If you have some thought about that, it will be very useful. Okay?
So with these remarks, let's start a little bit the discussion. Who want to start sharing thoughts, conclusions, doubts, disagreements? Who starts? Who breaks the ice? All right, one of the two of you.
Yeah, I'll help you. You start. In our group, no.
You could do, if you want, you could go here and the people that is in the internet are going to see you, or you could stay there.
You want me to come here?
Yes,
come here. You have a beautiful sound.
Yes, it's perfect.
Yeah. In our group, we had a little bit of disagreement and agreement about the topic, the questions, and some of us felt that it's in scouting, the formal education should not be involved, and it should be the informal education, and it's hands-on work and learning by doing and all. But some of us felt that it should be the both, like informal and there should be a little bit of formal education, they felt. And also some of us felt that there is too much of emphasis on the training of leaders rather than we empowering the young people, and some of us felt that there should be some change, that we feel like, empowering youth and also more involvement in the informal education, that we should not move on to formal education. But many in the group felt that they should use both. Like maybe some felt the formal education is important in Scouting. Okay?
Thank you.
You want to tell?
Just over afternoon tea, we had an interesting discussion just to lead on from that about exactly what you were saying about that. Here are our leaders. They're hard enough to get in the first place. They're volunteers. And we say, okay, well, this is in Australia. We say, okay, come along. You can be a Scout leader or a Joe Scout leader or a Cub Scout leader or a venture advisor or whatever. However, that's fantastic. Welcome aboard. But you've got to give up this whole weekend of your time to go and do this training. So they can start then at the end of 12 months. If you haven't finished your training, you're out. So we have a mixture of e-learning and formal training. But we were just chatting with this gentleman from England, and that's where they were 10 years ago. And now we get, in England, you can add your bit, that they get formal recognition for the actual work that they're doing with the youth. So whilst they still can get that theory, yeah, we're not going to lose the leader because they haven't got time. You know, they love what they're doing with the youth. Mm. Is that what, yeah. Do you want to add your big little bit?
Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Dan from the UK. It seems to me that properly conceived, doing leadership in Scouting is not simply a delivery system. It seems to me it's about the quality of the learning relationship that we establish with young people. So it's always been striking to me to see training delivered to adult leaders in Scouting when it's completely absent of the young people whom we're to establish this learning relationship with. One of the things that we've been thinking about in the UK is how we develop our modular system to engage with young people and to also recognize and validate learning that adults bring from their work directly with young people, and to recognize prior learning, the knowledge, skills, attitudes that adults develop outside of Scouting, because we all bring experiences and expertise from our wider lives. There's no one here, I would imagine, that is just involved in doing Scouting. They have lots of experiences outside, and we seek through our training program to try to recognize the existence of those skills that they bring with them. So that's the contribution I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me, that brings me the memories of my experience as well. In Mayol Association in Catalan Scouting, we had a long tradition of non-formal education associations besides Scouting. Something similar that happened in France. And in the 80s, after the dictatorship, when the Catalan self-government started again, the Secretariat of Youth started to do some kind of standardized training for leaders of non-formal education associations. So they started to do it in the form of the associations that were not Scouts. And this kind of training was for associations where educators were both paid and unpaid. So associations where it was a mixture among them. What it's called leisure services, it's been growing, the kind of extra school activities, etc. And the people who do these activities need some kind of particular training. The paradox today is that the training that these people that want to professionally work on this area is more or less standardized with the same that they ask for Scout leaders. But we do know that Scout leaders need a different kind of training. The question is that if you go and you say, oh, but Scout leaders are different and they need less training, they feel that your educational action is less important or is less rigorous. And I don't know in other environments, but my feeling is that in Western countries, we have where population is diminishing. Kids are now seen as a kind of a luxury. You have less kids. So people get more obsessed with the security. They overprotect the kids. So they are more and more obsessed with how you are trained to avoid that the kid die, that the kid is killed, that the kid is harmed. And then this obsession with security is creating some kind of paranoia when you go to a river, when you go to the mountain, when you go everywhere. And this paranoia, it's only balanced with more training. You have 1,000 more hours of training. And then what happens is that young people think that maybe they don't want to be leaders because the time that they should spend doing this training is similar to the time that they would spend on something that could give them some living. So this paradox goes directly of what Dominic was saying, this idea that somehow Scouting should be able to reflect and to say, first of all, inside the association, and then to families and to society, we do know how to deal with kids. We do know how to train adults. And our way is not the standardized way. And we could prove that our way works. And I'm telling about my experience because I feel that Catalan Scouting is still also in this point of fear, saying, but I don't know, maybe if we say this to the parents, they are going to say that we are not prepared enough, and they are going to try to go to somewhere else. I don't know if you have similar experiences or more ideas of the previous discussion.
Je vais parler en français.
You want to translate it, Dom? Or you could be from here. I'll need to speak just after he answers. All right.
Et je vais parler de l'expérience en Afrique. Et ici, je vais essayer de vous montrer que la pratique du scoutisme dépend aussi des pays et des régions aussi. D'abord, pour ce que je connais au niveau de la République démocratique du Congo, actuellement, on a tendance à utiliser la méthode scout pour aider à l'éducation formelle. Donc, on a introduit dans l'école primaire un système de patrouille, de cris de patrouille, un système d'activités parascolaires, mais pendant les cours, sans parler de groupes scouts, sans parler de l'éducation non formelle.
There are different ways to use the Scout methods in different countries. I will talk about my country, and in my country, what we have used in the school system, we have actually used the Scout methods in schools, and in primary schools, we have now developed a system of patrol, and the patrol have to select one motto, and we've used that system, but never mentioning that this was coming from the Scout system.
Mais comme je l'ai dit dans le petit groupe où j'étais, nous avons en Afrique certains groupes qui se développent dans les écoles avec la méthode scout, où il y a l'enseignant, pendant les cours, il fait de l'éducation formelle, et juste après les cours, 2 ou 3 fois par semaine, il fait de l'éducation non formelle avec la méthode Scout. Donc, un groupe Scout qui fonctionne avec l'éducation non formelle et l'éducation formelle.
And we can reach a point where, once again, in Africa, where since the Scout method is also used in schools, the teacher is a teacher using the formal methods during school hours, and outside school hours, the same teacher becomes Scout leader and use the informal education.
Cependant, le grand problème que nous avons, c'est au niveau des adultes. Et c'est là où j'ai encore dit dans mon groupe que au niveau des adultes, nous utilisons les deux types d'éducation à la fois, non formelle et formelle. Non formelle quand? C'est lorsque nous donnons des formations à ces chefs qui doivent aller encadrer les jeunes. Et non formel, c'est surtout au niveau de la pratique où nous aidons ces chefs à appliquer la méthode Scout telle qu'elle est conçue dans la pédagogie Scout.
And we basically also use the two ways of educating the leaders. We use the formal education when we have to explain to them the philosophy of the methods, but when it comes to applying that philosophy, then we use the informal methods.
Et en fait,
Excuse-moi, Gilbert. Oui. Préciser ta pensée là. Oui. Tu veux dire que pour la formation des chefs, utiliser des méthodes formelles, et ensuite pour le soutien des chefs, utiliser des méthodes informelles.
So do you actually mean that when you have to train the leader, that you use the formal method, but when you have to support the leader, you use the informal method? Is that what you mean?
Cela signifie que nous avons besoin d'avoir un chef qui a quand même fait des études et qui sera capable de comprendre ce que nous faisons. Et ce qui fait que nous demandons, nous exigeons de ce chef-là d'avoir une certaine connaissance, une certaine capacité. Et donc, nous avons besoin de faire recours aussi à son, comment on appelle ça, à son curriculum scolaire. Et cela nous oblige à savoir que le chef a fait quand même de l'éducation non formelle, a suivi une éducation non formelle. Et maintenant, au niveau de l'éducation, non formelle. Maintenant, au niveau de l'éducation formelle, du moins non formelle, pendant les formations que nous lui donnons, nous devons lui montrer comment il doit encadrer les jeunes. Et donc, en fait, pour qu'il encadre les jeunes, pour qu'il puisse assurer cette éducation non formelle, il doit lui-même avoir des compétences en éducation non formelle. Ce qui fait que nous lui assurons ça. Et évidemment, il ne suit pas les différentes étapes comme les jeunes doivent le faire, mais au moins, il le sait et nous essayons de le suivre par rapport à ça.
And so that the leader can actually practically use the informal methods, he needs to be formally trained on on that skills. And that's why we use the formal methods to teach him what is the best way to use the informal methods. And then we use the informal method to support him in this training.
Et pour terminer, moi je pense que pour répondre à la deuxième question, l'éducation, du moins la première question, l'éducation scout et l'éducation formelle doivent toujours exister et l'une a toujours besoin de l'autre.
And so to answer the first question, I think that the formal education needs the informal education and vice versa, and both need to coexist.
Quelques comments. Sorry. Some commentaries, some comments on that. First, I would like to ask if the distinction between formal education and non-formal education is clear for everybody. It's clear? Yeah.
very clear. Okay. I do research in scouting, my PhD, and I'm a member of a national research school for education in Finland, I always, when I refer to scouting, I talk about non-formal education, and the director, who is a professor in sociology, says that, why do you say scouting is non-formal? Because for me, it looks pretty formal. And I said, how can you say so? And she says, well, first of all, you're very structured. You have a very structured program. And second of all, there is some quality assurance because if you want to be a member of WSEC, for example, there are certain elements that you have to have. And third of all, this is in Finland, the Scouts and Guides of Finland are the biggest recipient of state funds when it comes to youth organizations. So she says that, well, for me it looks pretty formal. And I've been thinking, yeah, in a way, because quite little has been said about non-formal education. And I've sort of dared to disagree with my professor in saying that I think the aim is different. For formal education, if you look from the perspective of critical pedagogy and critical theory, the aim of formal education is to somehow keep the status quo of the society, whereas I think non-formal organizations are more to tools for change. So I think there is the difference in the aim. But what was, I suppose, I had another point that I lost. Yeah, forget it. But that was just what I wanted to comment on that are we formal or are we non-formal? Yes, because now we say that there's lifelong learning and that learning happens in all arenas of life. So do we need to make a distinction between formal and non-formal if we say that learning happens everywhere?
You want to say something?
Yes, I completely agree.
Yes, discussion.
Yes,
yeah.
But I understand. I have two students in master degree in my university, studying the Scouting in Brazil. And for me, I beginning to look another way about the sociology of education. And I say that Scouting is not formal, no formal, is a social education. That is my new approach in my research.
Edward, you want to add something, but not?
No, I just thought that you could use.
Okay. The problem is that people that are working in school education do not know what is non-formal education. And, for example, in Europe, at the level of the European institution, all youth organizations struggle to make non-formal education recognized. Because if you look at the literature on education, nowhere people are speaking about non-formal education. They are speaking always about school. Okay? Sorry, yes. Thank you. So it is why it is important to define non-formal education, to have it recognized by the people that are working on educational matters. And did you find? Yeah. Here you have the definition that was proposed by the UNESCO. There is a distinction between three things. Formal education, which is the hierarchically structured, chronologically graded educational system running from primary through the tertiary institutions. That is the school system, with a curriculum, with formal methods, in a classroom, and so on. Informal education is the process that every individual acquires from daily experience, from family, from friends, peer group, the media, in the street, and so on. And non-formal education is organized educational activity outside the established formal system, outside school, but with objectives, with a program, with some methods. It's different from informal education.
Interesting also to go to the different things. So I don't know if you could read. Do you read this part here? It's to the bottom. So this is that each one of the three types played a specific role that complements the other two. It's not that one is more important than the other. It says knowledge and job skills are generally acquired through formal education. A number of skills, both personal and social, are acquired through informal education, things that you have for the media, the interaction with your friends, etc. Now, the acquisition of life skills and the development of attitudes based on an integrated value system is made possible through non-formal education. So the thing is that this element, the integrated value system, is what differentiates non-formal education from informal education, because the kids are playing similarly, but they have a framework here. And at the same time, what you have is a formal system that is not based on these elements. It's not hierarchically structured, it's not chronologically graded, it's not based, it cannot be tested in the way that school is. But on the other hand, it's more efficient on acquiring life skills and developing attitudes. Something that is different of what you have on the formal education.
For example, if you want to educate to democracy in the school system, you will make a lesson on that. Historical lesson, sociological lesson on that. But in Scouting, that is learned through practice, because young people are making decisions together. They are discussing how the group life is going on. They are deciding rules together, and they are really doing what a citizen do in any state or community. So that is the difference. Life skills have to be acquired through an experience, not through lessons. You want to say something?
You've made me think a little, so I need to share my thinking. It occurs to me that these sort of intellectual categorizations are not as impermeable as we seem to be presenting them. Because for me, we can describe some of the aspects of the style and approach that we have in Scouting very much through the first definition as much as through the second and the third. And what's striking to me is the difference in terms of education as a verb, if you like, the doing of education so that we achieve education, the noun, which is the outcome in terms of knowledge, skills, attitudes, behaviors that develop in our lives. And for me, these definitions are useful only in as much as they help us to think about how can our particular style and approach be recognized. And I think that's the point that Dominic was stressing, is how do we, when placed against the school system, describe our particular brand and style and approach so that it gains valuable recognition in wider society. These for me are not impermeable definitions. There's a bleeding of the features between them.
Thank you. Okay, we should not spend too much time on definition, because we have also to share.
Could we go back to the three questions? My name is Anthony Chan, holding the post of Supervisor Leadership Training Institute that was established in 2007 in Hong Kong, actually triggered off by a lot of these issues that we are discussing. Now, about the first question, have I ever doubted that Scouting education perhaps needs the security of a formal education? No, but I would say scouting education perhaps needs the recognition of formal education. Now, so since 2007, there is a fundamental education reform with Hong Kong government. 30% of their formal education secondary curriculum was in a subject called other learning experience. No particular subject was put there. Anything could be other learning experience. Music, outing, nature, and whatever, 30%, right? And in university, you start to see mentoring. Now, that is beyond instructor tuition. It's mentoring we are hearing. I don't think this is unique in Hong Kong, right? Service learning, experiential learning. Now, what are these things? These things are all within our scouting method. Community service, learning by doing, adult involvement in scouting. So, my personal opinion is we should now really rethink whether we still need a clear line between formal and non-formal education. Because we like it or not, our terrain is being gradually stepped over. Unless they recognize, hey, we got all this all along. We got it 100 years. If not, the general public will still think we are kiddie stuff. All right? We have successfully put wood badge to Poly University Hong Kong for a validation. Now it comes to the second. Do you think some Scout leaders feel that education is inferior than school education? There are two things. Some of the leaders would think so. We can never achieve that standard. Some think, well, we've got that all along. Now, what is the difference between these two types of leaders? Right. The first type is, I must say, they don't know too much or too deep about the scouting methods. Those who say, yes, we are far better than, we've been practicing it for the last 100 years. These Scout leaders are leaders who have in-depth understanding and able to apply to our scouting method effectively and efficiently, right? Unfortunately, my experience is that, no, we are inferior. With this sort of feeling, the leader, the number, is far more than those who said, we are better, right? Now, I give you an example. When we seek recognition from the higher education, the formal education, we don't have to lose anything. I tell you, we lose nothing. Now, putting the wood badge for accreditation, there are two problems that formal education gave in, and we did not give in anything. The two things is, the first thing, we insist on 100% attendance. This is what we require for our leaders in wood badge. But all of you know, in university, if you have 80%, sometimes 70% attendance, you're okay. And they keep asking us why. I said, we have a theory, and then we have experiential learning. Unless the whole group of people are together, form the right rapport, the trust, the understanding, the essential interpersonal exchanges, you're getting nowhere. After long debate, they gave in. Okay, 100%. If people want to go on the wood badge. The second thing that they gave in is, do you have exams? You know, how could you not have exams, you know, in university? Impossible. I said, no, wood badge don't have exam. He said, then how come? How can? I said, no. Our assessment, we train in small group. Our assessment method is continuous assessment. Now, we give them all the way assessment throughout the period. Okay, this is far more an accurate assessment than you just 50% is passed, maybe 70% a distinction. No, our assessment system is continuous. Now, which is not a new thing. Now, if you look at the assessment system of military training, now, Baden Powell adopt, I think, that system, continuous assessment on how the boy is developing, intervene when necessary, and things like that. They came to understand, okay, with this 9 credit points for Wood Badge, now we accept that 100% attendance and no examination, provided you can reflect your assessment to us. So, yes.
Stay here. There is a question from internet. Somebody say we need that our association should have the power to influence school curricula and education. So the example you are giving was that you were able to influence formal education, the university, I mean.
Yes. Now, that is, we gave our Wood Badge for validation. But if anyone here attend a session this morning on partnership, you know that we have gone in partner with 2 universities. One Chinese university, United College, Hong Kong. The other one is PolyU. Now, they have general education. The general education, they decide to have leadership. Now, Scou Association was invited to write a program, give it to them for Senate to pass, and then we deliver it. We've been doing this for the last 6 years. Right? So, let's not really try to draw a line. It's not relevant now, formal or non-formal education. No. How many internship subjects 30 years ago in university? 2, 3, 4? But now, every subject in university got internship. That is experiential learning. All right? So whether we like it or not, they are coming to our part. We will make sure we go into their part as well. So getting their recognition doesn't mean that we are inferior. All right? Coming down to the third question. Yes, we are spending a lot of resources for leader training. But unfortunately, I don't think we are successful. Now, as he has spoken earlier, we can get a person in to help, and they will do fine in Scou activity. Now think, if that person stay on, all he can do is to repeat what he was doing when he first came. Can you ask him to elaborate, go deeper, or sideways, wider in Scout training? I doubt it. Why? Because the whole yesterday and today, we've been referring to a lot of academic studies on Scouting. A lot of figures on Scouting reflecting the Scouting method. But when we say young people empowering, for example, are our leader know how to implement empowerment for young people? Now, for example, he said, a lot of these things are built in. We know, like you've been saying earlier on, we know because we have so many years experience, more than the kids. If we want to stimulate the kids to know what we know, right? We need to know, the trainer need to know the theory and the reason behind it. Before that, he could not effectively apply to transfer what he know to the kids, be it young people empowerment or whatever. So I would say formal education training is important. I agree with the gentleman earlier. But non-formal scouting method training is also important, because the formal training for scouter equip him with the reason, the understanding of the whole scout method, the depth of it, and then he's comfortable. And stand there, he can design anytime during the session with his kids or the activity to project the essence and the value of scouting. This is some experience I would like to share with you all. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Let me ask you something. How many of you, because except if you have something very particular, we would like to jump to the next thing and then do, to the third part, and then do a wrap up with comments from everybody. Is something very particular that you want to say on that?
Yes, I have a little different opinion about this question, because the question is the second one. Do you think that some school leaders feel the education is inferior than school education? I think this is the reality. If we didn't feel that our educational process is inferior, we'll not go to university to recognize our curriculum of non-formal education. We will wait for them in the result and ask to them, what is your result? Here is our result. And we try to compare. When we go to them to recognize our non-formal curriculum, it means that we think that our curriculum is not at the same level than theirs. And we need to validate our curriculum to the university to make it relevant. If it is sufficiently relevant, we don't need to go to them to recognize it. Now, we are in a system where economy is dictating the rules. So, I think we are obliged today, because of the economic system, to do that, because we want, in the process of achieving the skills of our young people, to give them the opportunity to reach some position in society. It's all. Even not, we think that our education system is inferior to the formal education.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I have a good friend who was the leader of a scout group, and she went to a very well-known business school to do an MBA. And she did the MBA. She was a little bit afraid. She said, maybe I don't have the level. She applied. She went there. And in the middle of the MBA, we met, and I said, well, how are you doing? And she said, I'm the boss of the promotion, because I'm the one that is organizing everything, the one who is leading the groups, the one that is putting the vision, the one that is challenging the teachers. But this is something that I haven't learned in the MBA. nor even in my work. This is something that I learned when you and I were playing as Scout leaders with the kids, or were in the association doing things. So I think that we all agree with you, the thing that we all have experiences like this of people that have this feeling, not because the training, but because the experience, because they were Scout leaders, they were group leaders, they were commissioners, they were patrol leaders, etc. So I think that the 2 points that you made, that this differentiation between formal and non-formal is not impermeable. It's totally right. And actually, this is what now Dominic is going to work about, because the idea is that education is a process with different agents. And these agents are contaminating one to each other. So the most important thing that we wanted to deal with is the idea that we should be secure enough of what we have to offer, and not have the fear that what we are doing is too weak, and to try to do the things that others are doing. Now, let me ask you something. How many of you have an older brother or an older sister? So the ones who have older brothers or older sisters, or older cousins or something like this, when you were kids and you were playing with them, do you think that your older brothers or older sisters needed somehow someone telling them which new activities could they make with you for you not to be bored? So a little bit is what Dominic was explaining yesterday. If our system is based on youth empowerment, are the kids the ones who are going to say which activities we want to do to achieve those educational goals? So we only need to give lots of examples of activities if we don't listen to the kids. If the youth people are properly empowered, we are not going to have trouble finding activities for them to do or trying to repeat them. So I think that this links with what Dominic was explaining yesterday and what he's going to say now.
Okay, thank you. There is a motto selected by Scouting in France. They say, Scouting is the biggest school of management in France. And that's true in some way. Okay, so now we would like to think with you about the third question, which is the synergy between formal education and non-formal education. And for that, we have, again, to think at the difference between teaching and facilitation. It is, in some way, what I said yesterday in my keynote. What is facilitation? Facilitation is about bringing out and focusing the wisdom of the group as the group creates something new or solve a problem. That is a definition made by an educationalist or researcher organ. Facilitation is consistent with the Scout method. Teaching is not consistent with the Scout method, but facilitation is consistent. If you look at the difference between teaching and facilitation, you can see on the left side, teaching. Teaching is a process whereby a teacher makes a lecture to transmit knowledge to a group of students. Facilitation is helping or making it easy for students to learn together in a group or to achieve something together as a group working. Also, teaching involves telling and teaching the student. Uses lectures. I refer to what I was saying about monologue yesterday. And participants are often passive. Facilitation involves helping the student to discover by themselves knowledge as a construction It uses dialogue. Participants are active. Empowerment. Continue. So here, some difference also. The teacher or the content expert presents information while the facilitator guides a process. The content expert provides the right answers. He tells what are the answers, while the facilitator provides the right questions. That is the main difference, the biggest difference. We can think about using facilitation as a tool for adult training and not teaching. No lecture, group work with active method. In this way, Scout leader could be encouraged to use similar methods with young people. And that would foster youth empowerment. Now, a second idea. The first idea was facilitation instead of teaching. The second idea we propose to discuss with you is the idea of learning community. Because education is not only a matter of schooling, a matter of specialists. Education is the responsibility of the whole community. And this is why we are reluctant to make a difference between various kinds of education. What is a learning community? A learning community is a group of people we share common emotion, common needs, common values or beliefs, and that are actively engaged in learning together from each other. Paulo Freire, the famous Brazilian pedagogist, said, nobody can learn by himself. Nobody can help another person to learn. I said, human beings are learning together with the help of the world. So it is that, learning together from each other. We can think about a learning community where the local school, the local Scout group, and other non-formal education organizations could work together with parents to improve learning and involve young people in solving community problems. And it is why what described by Gilbert when he say the teacher at school is also the Scout leader. That means that various organizations can work together at local level to improve the quality of education. And in this process, what Scouting can offer? Resources for the training of teachers, for example, active learning, facilitation. Developing school support through peer tutoring. I said yesterday that I had an experience in IT where by establishing a system of peer tutoring in the school, we achieved to improve very much the success of schooling. Complementing school education by life skills, like I said just before about education to democracy. Strengthening education by combining fully trained teachers and community resource people, Scout leader and other volunteers. And what Scouting could get from that, more visibility, the possibility to demonstrate its capacities, to be more recognized, human resources, volunteers from the communities joining Scouting as a Scout leader or helpers, and the opportunity to offer Scouting to more young people. Okay? So that is the discussion we propose to you now in the last 20 minutes that we have. There are maybe two ways for improving the quality and impact of Scouting. Fostering youth empowerment through facilitation and developing partnership to create learning community at local level. First question, have you heard about some experience in these fields? in your country or in your association or in other countries. What could you do in your association to explore and experiment these ideas? Because we are here also to think at the future and to make some exploration. We are Scouts. Scouts means explorer. Don't forget. What support will be necessary from WSEC to help Scout organization to do that? Is it clear for you? Do you have any clarification question before we start the discussion? Okay? So a last effort, please. Start to discuss in group that, and during 10 minutes?
I don't...
Or maybe no group?
Yeah, I don't know if we could jump directly to the plenary, because it's only 20 minutes, and 20 minutes go very fast. So do you think that we could go directly sharing thoughts? But to do that, someone should take the micro and start saying something. So who's going to be the first? Thank you.
Well, no answers from me, I'm afraid. In Denmark, we've had a school reform this year, and part of that is that the government is encouraging partnerships between local schools or the communities and volunteering organizations. Right now, we have, in our association, we have a working group who are going to look into this and see what can we do? Are there any experiences? Are any of our groups in actual dialogue with the local council or the local school about what can happen? So I'm going to listen very keenly to whatever you may have to say. No answer, but a call for more information.
Good facilitator. Who has some experience to share on that? Or even something that comes from the previous part. You could see that this gives a little bit of answer of what you two were saying, on the idea that we are talking about education as a whole, so this interaction is the relevant one.
Just in Australia, we've recently, for the older youth, so at around 15 onwards, they can do their adventurous activities, so they can get like a certificate 3 or 4 in adventurous activities. So, we were talking about accredited training, but for a youth member to actually then they can go on to do physical education and different things for a job. So we've just recently had that recognised. So that's, so as a formal Scout training, at the same time they can be achieving some certificates for their ongoing life.
Thank you.
On discussion 3, what support would be necessary for WSEC? I suggested this morning to the former chairman of the Scout Foundation. Perhaps WSEC could consider establishing a Scout college. Now, inside the Scout college, we teach Scout methods. We teach Scout method assessment, something that is quite different from normal formal education universities. Now, if we are so good, I think we could do it and establish some ground. And because going back to the first discussion, the first questions, it's not a matter of whether we are inferior or we are superior. The issue is not that. The issue is formal education, every kid must go to. But Scout education is by choice. Now, we are asking their recognition. It's not because that we are inferior. We get their validation and recognition is because it is a fact, a very bare fact, that every kid compulsory have to go to school. If not, the parent go to jail, right? And we become secondary automatically. We have to prove that we got what it gets to achieve the aim of creating second generation good citizenship. So the thing to do in avoiding feeling inferior and asking a university to recognize us, why not we establish something worldwide?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to add something to experience. In Burkina Faso, this is a little country in the middle of West Africa. We have tried some peer experiences in education in two areas, in entrepreneurship and in with Scout in rural areas. You know, when young people know that together they will achieve something very successfully, they help themselves, and there is a solidarity, a very strong solidarity in the acting together. And I think an area like entrepreneurship has been very successful with peer approach in our country, because they wanted to move from poverty to become an actor of the society, to become a full citizen, able to contribute to the building of their country. And when they understand that tomorrow, learning this, helped by my fellow, I can become an economic actor, he involve himself fully. It's the same thing in the rural areas. Dominic knows our experience with rural scouting in Burkina Faso. We have achieved some experiences in agriculture and community development very successfully, only by involving Scout and giving to them the responsibility to bring the other young people to learn with them. We train the first group, and we tell to the group to go in the local communities and help the other young people to learn with them, and it was very successful. Yeah.
Great.
C'est bon, celui-ci. Je me permets de parler en français, comme ça on aura une traduction parfaite. Nous, on s'est posé la question il y a quelques années chez les scouts et guides de France de la façon de reconnaître le parcours de formation et l'expérience des cheftaines et des chefs dans le milieu professionnel. Pour cela, un outil a été développé. Cet outil a pour objectif de valoriser le parcours de formation et l'expérience. We have thought about methods in France to leverage the skills acquired by the leaders and have these skills recognized by the community.
L'outil a été créé à la base pour permettre à des jeunes qui étaient en échec scolaire, mais qui s'en sortaient très bien dans le scoutisme, qui vivaient des projets, qui vivaient une vie d'équipe, de reconnaître leur parcours et notamment savoir comment les différentes activités qu'ils avaient menées, les différents projets, pouvaient être valorisés. Et cet outil, c'est simplement des questions qui sont posées. Par exemple, je sais animer une réunion. La preuve, pendant une année, j'ai été chef d'unité. je sais organiser, je sais faire un budget. L'année dernière, j'étais chef scout et j'ai fait un budget pour le camp. Et c'est se servir de ce qui a été vécu dans le scoutisme pour valoriser des compétences qui ont été acquises de façon informelle ou par la formation scout dans le milieu professionnel et pouvoir valoriser ces compétences auprès de recruteurs.
And basically we have developed a tool that helps to leverage the skills, and through that tool the scout leader can answer some questions and use the answer to these questions to leverage the skills to the employers. For example, he will answer the questions, are you able to manage a budget? And he will take the answer yes, because he ran a camp last year. To the question, are you able to lead a meeting? He will answer yes, because I used to be a scout leader last year, or I ran a unit, and therefore I formally had to organize meetings, and therefore I have the skills to lead a meeting. And these skills can be identified and leveraged and used in their job if they're looking for a job. And so we had developed that tool originally for the young people who had difficulties at school or difficulties to find a job, but who were successful in scouting.
Voilà, cet outil s'appelle Valorise-toi. C'est une façon aussi de reconnaître l'engagement des jeunes adultes. Il a été traduit dans plusieurs langues et est aujourd'hui utilisé par un certain nombre d'associations de scoutisme en Europe. Merci.
And so that tool is called Value Yourself, or Give Value to Your Skills. And that tool was actually translated into several languages and is actively used by several Scout associations throughout the world.
Thank you. That's interesting. You think you could share for associations that are not from Europe where this information could be found? Est-ce que vous pouvez dire nous pourrons trouver l'information de cette initiative à l'Internet pour les associations qui ne sont pas de l'Europe? Comme? Ah, parfait. So the people that are interested on this could ask him or could give him your email address, and he could give you the information on where to find it in the internet. I think it could be a very good tool also. Thank you. Merci.
Well, I just want to reiterate that non-formal is as equal, very important, equally important than to formal education. Just an example, there was once a teacher, whatever the teacher teach, children has to learn it. And then the teacher sometimes, when the child cannot learn it, they are being punished. And once the teacher said to the child, you know who I am? And then he didn't do homework and so angry. And then he said, you know who I am? And he said, yeah, you are my teacher. And then he said, teachers are the one who do not allow us to do anything that they did themselves when they were at our age. So teachers are very strict. They have to learn whatever is in the curriculum. They have to learn it. Whereas non-formal education is to complement the formal education. So therefore, if you have to clap, we need two hands to clap. So one hand is the formal education, the other is informal education. Informal education gives the values, but the formal education gives the knowledge. With these two, only can become the wholesome education. So we talk about giving the holistic education, the wholesome education. Only if these two are together, then we can give the wholesome education. Otherwise, formal education alone cannot give a wholesome education. That's what I want to reiterate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We still have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to share regarding to the what the public thinks about scouting, because I think many do not understand what scouting is all about. They think still it's a play thing. So when we are talking about formal and informal education, and trying to convince somebody who's sitting in an office, well, look here, this is what we are doing. And it'll take some time for them to digest. So what is very important to us right now is probably we have to really revamp our branding, our approach, and our outlook so that they understand Scouting is not a plaything for the children. Because many a time when we say, oh, Scout, oh, when they say, oh, that means the expression is, well, it's a kiddie thing. But then the seriousness is not seen by them because they're not aware. Why they are not aware? Because we do go forward. So I think this is an important thing that I think we should consider.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Last thoughts. There are 3 people there. 1 and 2. The one that you wish. You first. Thank you.
Thank you. I also feel that sometimes when we discuss the definitions, we mix things up a bit and make it more complicated than this. While Scouting often is non-formal education, it can be supported and delivered in a structured and formalized organization. And sometimes when we are delivering Scouting in a formalized structure organizationally, we misinterpret ourselves and think that is formal education. But in fact, the Scouting program is non-formal education always. But when we speak to other external organizations, we can still say that we deliver non-formal education, but we do it in a very structured and well-thought system that it's explainable to others so that they can understand it.
Thank you. Just a comment on that, following what Dominic was saying before. I think it's important not to confuse the concept of formality. So when we talk about formal education and we refer it as formal, this formality is not the fact that it's not a chaos. What we're talking about is that it's structured, as it was explained before, in a hierarchical way, in a way that cannot be broken, in a way that is already defined, whereas non-formal education has also values that are established, a method that is clearly established, but then has a huge amount of freedom for the development of kids and the empowerment of kids within that method and within those values. So the non-formality of non-formal education is not the fact that kids do whatever they want, or the other way around. When we were saying that we should avoid the contamination in Scouting from formal education, we mean that we should avoid hierarchical education, we should avoid activities that are repeated and that are all the same, and we should avoid trying to transmit the learning instead of through experience, through passive receiving this. So this interaction between formal and non-formal education is not a question, it's not a race to see which is better. What we are doing is Scouting. The thing that we need to know is how our Scouting is organized to be sure that the things that we are doing are right, and then be able to interact with universities, with schools, with families, and see how this could be improved. Because at the end, the goal of all of us is the similar, which is to have new generation of people that are better than we've been. You want something, but I think there was a question. It's all right?
Well, just a short teasing comment to what Edward just said. This afternoon, I have very much enjoyed having some discussions that were facilitated through some excellent questions. But I've also enjoyed being taught first by a couple of subject matter experts. So I think we've had a good balance between the two here, and not just one or the other. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Moi, j'aurais souhaité, Dominique et tous les autres, si l'OMMS pouvait nous aider à ce que dans les pays où le scoutisme comme éducation non formelle ou informelle n'est pas reconnu, qu'au moins il y ait ce développement-là, notamment à travers l'UNESCO, pour que nous puissions au moins atteindre à ce niveau-là. Parce que nous tous ici, nous sommes d'accord que le scoutisme comme éducation informelle aide à ce que la communauté se développe à travers les jeunes. Et donc on doit aussi pousser nos gouvernements pour qu'ils reconnaissent. Et dans beaucoup de pays, ce n'est pas reconnu. Je pense que ça peut être une demande directe à WSEC.
So our friend is asking, he says, well, all of us are agree that non-formal education is important, is relevant. So how WSEC could help us, particularly in countries where this recognition is not strong enough, to make that non-formal education is recognized somehow at the level that of the importance that it has. I think that this is something that that the World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau had been dealing at least since the 90s, if I remember. So the document that I shown before, it's called The Education of Young People. That was a document that was promoted by WSEC, WACS, and other several institutions in 1997. And precisely the idea was to say, hey, it's not that we are saying that. It's the UNESCO who is saying non-formal education is something with content. Now, the big problem that we have, again, is what we were saying before, this fact of this intuitive nature of scouting that makes that many people look at us and say, yeah, you look kind of doing something, but I don't really know what's going on. So, and then we try to speak with university professors or with people in schools for them to say, yeah, I see that the kids that go to scouting have different attitudes, have stronger values, have more initiative, are more empowered. But I think that you have a good point here. Melissa, who is discreetly taking note of everything that is happening in this room, might also take note to send the message to the World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau that this is something that they should keep working on. Merci beaucoup.
Just one word. There is something that I listened to the request of Gilbert, but WSEC will be able to do that when it will receive from National Scout Association some information about the result, the output achieved by scouting. And for that, that is an old idea that I have. Those who know me will remember how we can show the output of scouting. We can show the output of scouting with the success of the senior section. Because what is a successful association? A successful school association is not an association receiving every year a lot of children. It is an association which is able to produce with everywhere a number of young people able to take responsibility in the society. That means through the older section. Sorry. Sorry. Our product, the product of scouting is young people able to take an active role in society. As entrepreneur, as Gilbert was saying, as a teacher, or as a citizen. And we have to show that, the result of the Scout education.
Thank you, Dom. If there is a particular new message, I think that with these words is a good moment to wrap up and to finish. Thank you very much. It's been a very productive 3 hours plus the break. So thank you. Yeah, this is for the WSEC is asking for this. Could I burn this for you for tomorrow?
Yeah, yes, of course. No problem. You are sure that it is compatible with your computer?
I'll check it. Yeah, because it's also a MacBook Air. Yeah. But I'll check it. Yes.
Even I can give it to you if you need, because I have another one at home.
Yeah? Well, it's only for tomorrow morning, so I give it. Voy los textos, lo tengo aquí. Okay. Vale.